So let's sit quietly, and then I would like to invite you to put into a contemplation around this story, which I just told you about. Jesus saying, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." So let's take a few moments to reconnect. So with the in-breath sliding into the body, even down into your feet. So you become aware of your posture, of your whole body. You feel the aliveness in the whole body. And notice your own energy. Now, after the break, maybe something changed. How is it for you to be here just now? Not as a story, but as an experience. So you drop into the trunk of your body, away from the head, from the entanglement with thoughts, into your hands, into your belly, resting in the breath. And it's a process, it's a bit of a journey, and it's something which is effortless. It's nothing you need to do, just sitting here and letting mind and body settle. And then with the out-breath, there's a quality of giving space and letting go. So, letting go of the control freak. Letting go of the one who knows. I mean, here the self-righteous one. Letting go of the meditator. The most important instruction is to let this moment be exactly what it is. To let yourself be. And then if you notice that you take your thoughts more important than what is happening, you let the bubble burst. You let the balloon drift into the vast sky. The balloon of thinking. And you stay here with us, with this voice, with the sensations, and then, if possible, with the stillness, with the silence. And returning and resting, and then opening. And a clear, boundaryless sky can be a mirror for us. A mirror of the heart like the sky. And returning. Dropping into the trunk of your body and sliding with the breath. Shifting from head, from thoughts, into beingness, into presence. And open to the mighty stillness, boundaryless, centerless presence, with a heart like the sky. Forget yourself. With all senses open. And we can open our mind to all these people just now who are sitting in the presence of the divine, who are sitting quietly. In all traditions, in temples, at home, some in joy, some in despair. So now I invite you to imagine that scene where there's self-righteous man wanting to stone a woman who was unfaithful. So these self-righteous men, they present the self-righteousness within you. So how does it feel to have that stone in your hand? Just about to cast the stone. Being sure you are right. Being sure you know what's right and wrong. How does that feel? Can you feel the power in that? The security. I'm right, I know. Where are you right in your life? Where do you have your stone in your hand? And how does it feel? And then there's a woman, helpless, in front of the judges. Can you recognize that? Scared. And helpless. Afraid, probably guilty, feeling ashamed. Being confused, being cast out, being rejected from the group. Nobody there to support her. How does that feel? Where do you know that from your life? And then Jesus walks into the scene, quietly and calmly, but full of authority. Well, the divine shines through. He is radiant. And he just quietly looks at the man who's just about to throw the stone. And he just says one thing. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. And he says it quietly, without aggression, but with love. Feel what happens in the man. What happens in that man, the first man who drops his stone. Feel the relief in that man when hatred is replaced with compassion. When confusion is replaced with understanding. She's just like me. And then feel how all the other men, one by one, they drop their stone. Not because they are afraid, not because Jesus is forcing them, because they connect with His love and they see. And feel the relief of the woman. Maybe she even felt also that she has sinned. But how does it feel to be seen, to be invited back, to be forgiven? And then you let that scene dissolve. Just stay a bit with the presence of Christ consciousness, the divine shining through. Feel how peace can reveal itself when there is no judgment. Peace is this moment without judgment. Peace is this moment without judgment. So that is how in some Christian traditions the practitioners work with these stories in the Bible, the stories of Jesus. Yeah. Really seeing them as description of inner processes, yeah. And embodying and recognizing. It's like dream work. It's really just like dream work. Like in a dream, each aspect in the dream is an aspect of your own psyche, is an aspect of your own experience. And it's a bit of an art to shift the mind from seeing these stories as literal to seeing them as description of inner psychic processes. And the same is true for the Buddhist stories. So if you read the stories in the Yataka stories, which describe the lives of the Buddha before he became fully enlightened. So then when we read the stories, then people get into discussions of, how this is not possible, and it's not about that. Did this story really happen? No, the one we just looked at doesn't matter. Completely irrelevant if that happened or not. It's happening. This story is happening in our life. And that's what this story is about. So, I still have to talk a bit, but I will leave some time for question. So, before the break, I talked about these teachings of judgment. And now, this powerful teaching of Jesus of love your enemies. Yeah? That's probably one of the most known teachings from the, I don't know what the English word is, the Bergpredigt, the Sermon of the Mountain or something like that. Don't know how they call it in English. Yeah? So that's again from Matthew. It's also interesting actually to read the different Gospels, the 4 Gospels, because Jesus is a bit of a different person in these 4 Gospels. And then there is the Gospel of Thomas, which is not part of the official Bible. So the Gospel of Thomas was discovered 45 in a kind of by a little shepherd, a little boy in a cave. So in the Gospel of Thomas is the most kind of esoteric gospel, or the most the Gospel of Thomas just contains teachings, not the life story. I will mention some of this gospel later. But so this is Matthew again, and Jesus saying, "You have heard the law that says, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say, love your enemies." So this is really, that's also the rebellious, So Jesus really steps out of that religion of a tribal god, which is the God of the Old Testament. It's the jealous God. It's the God of the Jews. It's like it's a tribal. We are the elected ones, and we have this relationship to this tribal God. And this teaching is very much around. Love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Love the people. Take care of the people of your tribe. Yeah. And don't let others in, because they are the other. Pray for those who persecute you. Pray for those who persecute you. I mean, this is like, that's a long journey to get there.
What means persecute?
Kill you.
Dom you?
Avrättar.
Så det?
Avrättar.
Förfölja.
Yeah. Yes. In that way, you will be acting as true children of your Father in heaven. For he gives his sunlight to both the evil and the good, and he sends rain on the just and unjust alike. If you love only those who love you, what reward is there for that? If you love only those who love you, what reward is there for that? I mean, what everyone is doing that. Oh, you love me also? Yeah. Then you're a nice person. Even corrupt tax collectors do that much. He's really a great guy, Also humorous. Yeah. Even corrupt tax collectors do that much. Yeah, you love the people you like. You love the people of your tribe. Yes, sure. That's not practicing. If you are kind only to your friends, how are you different from anyone else? Yeah. So love your enemies. In the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, that's called lojong, mind transformation. Yeah. Shifting your perspective from separation, from these are the others, these are the enemies, to a recognition of common humanity, based also on the other teaching of judging others, so based on the recognition of your own shadow, but also based on the recognition of kinship with everyone, the recognition that as human beings we have a common ground. We know each other, even if we don't know our name and the stories and how much money we make. There is something within us we can recognize, the same kind of vulnerability, the same kind of longings, the same kind of beauty also, the same kind of mysterium, the same kind of, wow, a human being with feelings just like me, consciousness, a conscious being just like me, so fragile, so vulnerable, but also so beautiful and so wow, so amazing. So what I then, of course, very much appreciate in the Buddhist teachings is that, so you get this beautiful teaching of love your enemy, but then the question is how? Yeah? So love your enemy is the result. Yeah? It's describing a result. And that's beautiful, but what we need is, we also need, and this is what I personally get more from the Buddhist teachings, is how to get there, how to get to the result of love your enemy. If we only have this teaching, love your enemy, then it creates like a split, like we want to be there and we fake it and we pretend we're doing it, but we didn't do the work because we didn't have the steps and the tools to do the work, how to get there. So love your enemy is not a practice. Love your enemy is the result of a practice. So what is the practice of getting to love your enemy? This is an important point also in the Buddhist teachings. We shouldn't confuse the result with the process to get there. Like, if I tell you now, relax, relax is the result. And how do you get there? How do you get to relax? So the practice of to get to relax is bring your attention to your body, notice where there's tension, soften there, breathe in there, bring your awareness back into the body. So I never say relax, because relax is the result. So if you would sit here and I would say relax, then you would, oh, relax, yeah, yeah, how can I relax? I'm not good in relaxing. Yeah, I wish I would be relaxed, but I'm not relaxed at all. Yeah, so this is an important point. It's also confused in the Buddhist teachings a lot. When teachers talk about the result, and we think this is the practice, but it's not the practice. It's the result of the practice. So love your enemy is the result. And then in the Buddhist teachings, I got the practices for doing it. For example, the practice of equanimity, which I mentioned in a few words just a few minutes ago. No, this practice of recognizing common humanity in each other. Like your enemy, the so-called enemy, the person you don't like, is struggling just like you. She has a hard time just like you. She wants to be loved just like you. And she has Buddha nature just like you. And she will die just like you. So that would be a practice. And then if you contemplate like this, and you do it genuinely, you can't help yourself to love them. You will suddenly see, oh, shit. There's something softening there. Shit. Oh, it was so good to have an enemy, and now, it's kind of, yeah. So then that's the practice. And of course, in the Christian tradition, there's so much pretense, so much fake. Love your enemy, and then, American Christianity is so rotten, for example. Even Trump feels probably that he is a Christian. But the same is true for, it's also in Buddhism. There's so much pretense and fake in the Buddhist centers and in Buddhist groups. So love your enemy is a journey, It's a journey, and we are not going to arrive there, probably. Because love your enemy would also mean to love yourself completely, to know yourself completely and to accept yourself completely. And that is a long journey. And most of us, this is probably not manageable in one life, because there's so much to love in you, so much to forgive in you, so much to heal in you. But this is, for me, I don't know why I feel more loved by Jesus than by Buddha. I think it's just because I know it from childhood. And this is also something important. It's about feeling it. It's about embodying it. And so what we really need to do is as much as possible to connect with your own culture. I'm not born in Sweden, so I can't. And now these stories, they come from my Catholic background. So I've heard them as a little boy, even before school. I knew these stories. But there must be stories like this also in Sweden. Yeah, Sweden is one of the most developed countries in this world. There's almost no better I mean, there's probably a lot of things to fix, and you could do things better. But if you look around, I mean, that's in Scandinavia. That's how about the peak of human development living together. That's like you are on the kind of there's. It's still in a sad state, but it's not. This is how humanity got so far. There's, of course, a lot of space for improvement. Denmark and Sweden, Finland and Norway. So, what I want to say is, I want to encourage you to look into your own culture, into the values of your culture. Like in Denmark, then I would, now I forgot. Yeah, you know what I mean. I remember some time ago I gave this workshop in Aalborg, and we were. It was happening in the Frivillig Hus of Aalborg, which is like a community-based house where there's all kinds of groups who do voluntary work, all kinds of work. And it was a beautiful house, and you could see all the projects, and you could feel how people go there and they help others and they do these things. And I was sitting there as a Buddhist, talking about, compassion and equanimity, and I felt really a bit ashamed to sit there in a rich culture, in a rich embodiment of kindness and of generosity, giving a lecture about generosity. So and that's beautiful. That also this, where we are here, it's amazing. Look, the condition of this place. Everything is here. PowerPoint, heating, light, and it's for free. You can come here, and you can, if you have something to share, something to give, you can use these rooms. It's amazing. Why do I say that? Yeah, because the kind of a pride, a healthy pride, and a deep curiosity towards the values and towards the teachings within our own culture, which for me is very much the Catholic background. So, there's time for a bit more. One of the really wonderful teachings of Jesus is, don't worry about the future. Yeah? Don't worry about the future. So, also for Matthew, so Jesus. So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's troubles is enough for today. So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today. People make this fuss about the power of now. Here it is. Tolle just stole it from Jesus. That's okay. But then, quite often, these teachers they don't admit, that they got it from Jesus, or they got it from Buddha. They sell it as their own big insights. So then there is this somewhat longer passage about how the birds, they don't worry and things like that. So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. So this is so, for me, so powerful to really realize, wow, all I have to work with is what is happening now. And relating to what is happening now in a loving way is the best preparation for relating to what is happening tomorrow in a loving way. So instead of, being stressed out that you are not lovingly relating to what is happening tomorrow, you just need to work with what is happening now. So, and what is happening now? So if you... Of course, we could call all the problems we have tomorrow, no? We could call them into our room, into this room, because we are able to do that, no? As that's our curse. It's our gift and our curse that we can call problems into this moment now, which are not here. So we can be occupied very much with what is not happening. That's actually, most of the time, we are occupied with something which is not happening. And then if we do this practice, then we start to see, wow, when I actually work with what is happening, it's always workable somehow. And most of the time it is, for us, most of the time it is actually quite fine. I mean, right now, for example, it's quite fine. There's not big problems right now to work lovingly with. Maybe some discomfort, some coughing, maybe some tiredness, and But that's okay. That's workable. That's something to be with and work with. So. What is this moment if you realize, oh, there's nobody here who has problems? Except the one you make up. Oh, shit, I forgot my problems. Let's concentrate a bit. What was it? Yeah, this morning I was full of problems. I woke up full of... But just now I don't remember it. What was it? Yeah, it takes me some time to get it together. It probably has something to do with money, something to do with a relationship. So then I build it up again. So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's troubles is enough for today. And again, what I now appreciate in the Buddhist teachings is that in the Buddhist practice, and you can find that for sure also in the Christian tradition, but so in the Buddhist practice, I get actually methods to do this. Like I get methods, meditation practices. I get, I can build up a meditation practice where I can train this, where I can look at my worries. Because, so if I say to you now, don't worry about tomorrow, and then let's sit quietly, you're going to worry about tomorrow. And then you're not going to worry about tomorrow, you will also feel that you're doing something wrong. So it's even getting worse. Oh shit, I'm supposed not to worry about tomorrow, but here I am. I worry about tomorrow. And then you have two options. Either you fake, like you say, yeah, I'm really in the present moment and I'm happy. Or you kind of try to beat yourself into not worrying about the future. So it's not working. So don't worry about the future is not an instruction. It's the result. So that's why when there's a meditation teacher sitting here and saying, So don't judge. That's not working because you're going to judge. That's what we do as human beings. So what you need to hear and what you need to realize is, okay, don't judge. It's the result. How do I get there? And one of the important parts of getting to not judging, which you will never reach, you will not reach not judging, unless you have this big enlightenment, which is only a few people in each generation. So could be, there's hope, but I think the hope is too small to really rest upon it. So you are not getting there. You are not going to get there to not judge. So one of the first practices we have to do when we want to get to not judging is to become aware of judging. To become aware of judging, to be kind with it, to look through it, to not indulge in it, to let it go when it arises, to get to know judging, to familiarize yourself with judging and loving it to death. By being with it, by holding it, by feeling it, by looking at it, and by not finding it as something real. And then slowly, you relax your judging. You relax your judging. It still arises, but it's just okay. Okay, let go. Let go. Let go. Whereas if you feel don't judge as the instruction, you're sitting here, oh, judgment, shit, what do I, and then you judge the judgment. So then it's even worse. You not only judge, because that's what we do, you judge the judgment. And that leads to guilt and making other people feel guilty. That leads to all this pretension and fake in the traditions. Because when you think this is an instruction, so then you put this straitjacket upon you, but then you also start to say it to others. Hey, don't judge. Because you can't live up to it, and you feel guilty about it, so you need to make other people also to feel guilty about the same. So don't judge. I can't do it, but I pretend I'm doing it, and then I demand from you also doing it. I demand something from you I demand something from you to do something which I can't do myself, and I pretend that I'm doing it. Because you are not married with me, so you don't know that I'm full of judgments. And I can sit here and say, don't judge. Okay. A bit more time, yeah? So there's this beautiful teaching of Jesus, which is, or I can tell you, it's a quote. And so I tell you, keep on asking and you will receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking and you will find. Keep on knocking and the door will be open to you. Yeah? Keep on knocking and the door will be open to you. That's a quite famous quote of Jesus. Keep on knocking. For everyone who asks receives. Everyone who seeks finds. And to everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. Yeah? To everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. So one part of this teaching is, to feel your calling, like to feel that seeking, to feel that longing, which broke into your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Yeah, and I don't know when it broke into your life. Maybe already as a teenager, as it did in my case. Very clearly, this strong call, this strong seeking, yeah, this strong sense of the divine, and the strong sense that life is about recognizing the divine. For some people, it happens later in life when they are in a crisis, when someone dies. So they did some people, they need to do their thing, like going to school and starting a family and like being hypnotized by this thing we have in our culture, that life is about that a good life is a life where where you have a pension and a health insurance, and you have a car and a nice flat and many friends. So that's a good life. That's what life is about. And that's what will be a satisfying life. A life where you feel, I did the best in my life. I really used my life in a good way. I have a car, I have an iPhone, I have a health insurance, I have a pension, and I have a good life. Yeah. And then something happens, and something always happens. Yeah. Because all these things say you will lose them at one point. So they are not reliable, and we have looked for refuge. We have looked for meaning and purpose in the wrong places. So then the calling arises in your life, the seeking arises in your life. There must be more. This can't be it. No, sometimes even like a feeling, even if you get there where you wanted to be, kind of successful people in the worldly sense, they are often the most unhappy. Because they start to see, wow, I got there. I'm famous. I have so much money. I can't. There's no way I can spend this in this life, and they feel completely empty. So, and what Jesus says here is, when you follow that longing, when you follow that seeking, keep on seeking. He says, and you will find. So what he says, he encourages you to honor that voice, to not give up on that voice, to follow that voice, to kind of prioritize that voice, that calling, that seeking. There must be more. There must be something bigger. That's not what I'm here for. There's something more. And this seeking, this longing, it's one of the common human factors. We can recognize that in each other, and it's in our cultures and at all times. That humans who have heard that calling, even in the very early experience of humans, thousands of years back, maybe 10,000s of years back. And a big part of our path is to honor that voice and to prioritize that. And to notice when you get back into the hamster wheel, when you waste your time with meaningless things which don't nurture you. And so the voice, the calling of the seeker, your mystic longing, what is important, so to protect it, what is important there, that you seek out others, that you know, that you don't feel yourself, I'm the only mystic seeker in all of Sweden. No, you have to come together in groups. You have to connect with others who say, yeah, I feel the same. I'm on the same, there is something more. Let's talk about something else than, the football games or ice hockey. Which is also fine, yeah? But if that's what our life is about, what a waste. What a waste of this precious human life, which is, according to the teachings of Jesus, this beautiful combination of the divine and the human experience. So knock on the door, and part of that could be, or part of that, if that kind of practices speak to you, is really going down onto your knees, yeah, like flat on the ground, and knock. Yeah. Knock and the door will be opened. So there is that, you have that also in the Buddhist practice, yeah? At least in the Tibetan Buddhist practice. This practice, the practice of bhakti, the practice of devotion. And again there, probably because I know it from as a child, yeah. Again there, I can find this aspect also within me, towards my master, and towards the different Buddhist like Shenrezik, or but it's also very strong in me if I connect with the Christian tradition. I mean, if Jesus would come into this room in all his humanness, but also in all his glory, the most ordinary person, very earthy, but in the same time very radiant, very loving. Yeah? Not like on a throne, like it's like in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, they put their teachers on these thrones with amazing hats and gold and flowers around, which is also beautiful and has a value. But Jesus would walk in here maybe as a homeless person, but in his glory. So if he would walk in here, then there would be something in us which would want to fell down onto our knees. And by doing that, so when we knock, what we are connecting with is something within us. We connect with our own divinity. So in the end, we are not worshipping something outside of us. We are not falling down onto our knees, and we don't prostrate to something outside of us which can save us. No. What we are knocking at, what we are confirming through this knocking and this devotion, is our own true nature. We are knocking at our own heart. We make offerings to our own Buddha nature. So knock. Yeah? Keep on knocking. Maybe you can connect with that in nature. Yeah. So allow yourself to forget yourself in nature and surrender to that mystery So the knocking and the knocking demands of you a lot of courage as well, because what you're open when you start to open that door is you are leaving the known and you start to go into the unknown. You start to go into death. And it is that scary as dying. So we need to be encouraged to actually keep on knocking. And we need to, and that's what Jesus is symbolizing. It's like this encouragement. Yeah, knock. The door will be opened. Everyone who seeks finds. But what you're going to find is not what you think. What you're going to find is that there is no you. What you're going to find is that there is no seeker. And the seeker, the you, the I, is not going to, the I is not going to want to knock at the right door, because the I will be the I will realize its own non-existence. So knocking and then opening the door is like, I will, that's too much. Yeah? So, and then you need to encouragement. Okay, actually, that you're scared to knock, it's a good sign. That's why you have to knock. You have to knock there where you are scared. Don't see your fear as as a warning sign. See it as a green sign, not a red sign. See it as when you are scared, when you get afraid to knock, when you get afraid to fall onto your knees and surrender and let go of the control freak. Of course you get afraid of that. You get afraid of to trust, and then see that as a sign of, wow, yeah, this is actually the right door. There is also, and that depends, and it's different for different people, and it's different in different times. There's also, of course, when you knock and the door opens a bit, then there's joy and relief. So that's also happening. But don't take the fear as a warning sign. Rather take it as a sign, yeah, that's the right door. Keep on knocking. Okay. So, the last words at the end of, and this was really a tiny little part of Jesus' teachings. And it's worth to explore. Probably more so even than exploring the Buddhist tradition, because it's your culture. Now I'm coming from the Catholic kind of view. So the teacher I wrote down there, they are all coming from a Catholic view, but I'm sure the same kind of richness you find in the Protestantic teachings. So the last words of Jesus. So on the cross, alone in the cold, abandoned, yeah, rejected, failed, yeah, just went through the 12 stages of the carrying the cross, yeah, with all the humiliation, with all the pain, with all that which we experience as human beings. So, he says 3 things. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. This is words who are like vibrating since this 2000 years in our souls, in our and they are, I think, for me, they are so deep and so touching because my culture, my upbringing is connected with it. I mean, the Buddha has said equally powerful and beautiful words, but there is that kind of childlike first experience within me when I hear that. When my father read I had this children Bible with the stories of Jesus. When my father read that to me, I couldn't read even. So that was before I've learned reading. So I must have been 4 or 5. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And then, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why have you forsaken me? This is, this is amazing to have a spiritual tradition where, in the end, like the founder of this tradition, admits his failing, admits his doubts, it admits that he feels completely alone. And there's nothing he can stand on. My God, why have you forsaken me? And there's one mystic I really appreciate also is Johannes of the Cross and Teresa von Avila. And they have worked around this a lot, and they call it the dark night of the soul. Yeah? This moment. My God, why have you forsaken me? The dark night of the soul. They have a whole teachings on it, like the steps of it and so on. And so you can read about it. And the dark night of a soul must be and is a part of the journey for every genuine practitioner. So, in a way, don't do it, but I just say it. In a way, we all should pray for the dark night of the soul. But when you are there, you will wish never to have done that prayer. Because now it might sound kind of a bit glorious, but when you are there, when you are hanging on the cross, and you say, my God, why have you forsaken me? That's real. That's not a glorious moment where you feel, wow, now finally the dark nights of the soul. Now I'm going to have my breakthrough, because it's real. But you have to go through it. So if you are a Buddhist practitioner, you have to break through there's this level of practice where you feel settled and you know your stuff and you know the tense of this, and you're a bit like, yeah, this is how it is, karma and purification and emptiness I have also understood a bit, and and my tradition is the best one, and that is like this expresses this level of seeking for certainty. We kind of rest in a superficial understanding of the teachings, and we think we have understood something, and we become also a bit defensive and scared when other people have other opinions or criticize that or do other things, because we feel we rest on a conceptual level of the teachings. And this is an important part of an important step in our practice. But then, when we go beyond that, when we start to doubt, when we see, wow, this is nothing I can rest on. It's like, and I can't live up to that, and I'm too much. If we see our humanity, and when we, yes, we can know the steps of generosity, but then when we really connect with our greediness, and then when we come to places where we feel, I didn't get anywhere with my practice, and so many aspects, and we have to go through this, and probably a few times, where kind of your practice, or then your tradition where you are in is involved in a scandal, and the teacher you have trusted suddenly falls down or something like that. So there is this moments, and then to feel that failing is impermanent, and that it is a stepping stone, and that it is part of your journey. That's what you signed up for. You signed up for falling apart. It's not like genuine mystic practice, genuine Buddhist practice is not a feeling well mindfulness practice. So even Jesus, why did you forsake me? I have nothing to hold on. And then, the very last word, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. That's in the Buddhist teachings called awakening. So first, Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? And then, into your hands I commit my spirit. So completely surrender. Completely letting go of the mini-me, of the mini-I, of the Jesus I. Completely let go of that. Completely letting go of that. Completely surrendering into Christ's consciousness. And completely letting go of understanding. Completely letting go of understanding what Christ's consciousness is. Completely let go of understanding what God is. Completely let go of any understanding of what emptiness is. Completely letting go into the unknown, into the mystery. Groundlessness and centerless. The Christian monks and nuns who their whole life, work with that and surrender, and who more and more have the experience of the divine, in every moment. They go home like that. Into your hands I commit my spirit. And maybe you have witnessed, a grandfather or a grandmother dying like that. I've heard many stories like that, also from Swedish people, of old people who die like that. Into your hands I commit my spirit. And I wish we all will die like that. Okay. Okay, yes. May Jesus be with you. Oh, yeah, that's good. It's not, I don't think there's a lot of time to discuss. Any questions? Yes.
If we project on others and we become aware of that, that is one thing. But when we need to take on others' projections on ourselves, that's even harder.
Mm. Yeah, nothing of this is easy.
Huh?
Nothing of this is easy.
No.
Mm.
It's hard enough to want to see yourself openly,
Mm.
but to take in others' projection
Mm.
because it challenge others that you want to be.
No, what is being challenged when you are judged is your own self-image.
Say again.
What is challenged when you are judged by others is your own self-image.
Yeah, I get that through them. Because if I was sure of my self-image, that's one step, and the deeper step is then to experience that there's nobody here who's being judged. What you try to defend is the story of you. That's what you try to defend. And if you realize, so let's see, you are criticized. When you see that there's nobody here who's being criticized, then you allow other people to judge you and criticize you. Yes, people have the right to judge and criticize you, and they do it. Just like you judge and criticize others, so other people judge and criticize you. They do it. There's no way around it. It's in our nature. But when it comes to a situation in harm's way, then must be maybe the right thing to step away from that.
Absolutely. That would be that's often the most kind thing, to step out of the situation, not only kind to yourself, but also to the others.
Yeah. because the others who judge you, they also suffer, and they create the causes for suffering. So the most compassionate in that moment for yourself and for the others could be that you never see them again. But knowing that you're actually going to see them again, and that theme which comes up in this relationship will need to be addressed, but then at a later point, maybe when you have more space, or but temporary. It's can be the most kind thing, even in your relationship to your parents or to your ex or something. Sometimes it's the most kind thing to step out of the relationship for a while, and here for a while could be a few lifetimes.
Yeah, because otherwise if you cannot be, if there is no solution right there,
and the solution,
best,
yes, the solution is love.
Yeah, the solution is love.
Yeah.
If I know that, and those are not ready to see that, then I do not escape. Then it's not to escape, to step out of the situation.
No, but you can still keep on training loving them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm really inspired by forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And I really feel it's at the heart of every tradition, and even Buddhism, that all sin comes from ignorance or confusion, of not knowing their true essence, who they really are, and seeing each other as separate. That's how all these problems arise in us and in the world. So if we weren't confused, then there wouldn't be these problems, and that there is no enemy, there is no bad person, there is no evil. Everything arises from that confusion.
Right.
And that's really inspiring. That like everyone is workable, everyone can be saved, because in their essence, they're all pure and perfect.
Right.
And sin is just a layer.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah. And I think you can really go as far as you now did with this, and they don't know what they do. That it is really like deeper than just saying they didn't know. What it is actually, I think, pointing to is that basic fundamental confusion which you mentioned now. And a Christian would maybe say we are all divine in our nature, indestructible, uncorruptible, divine. And when we are not in contact with that, then we do harmful things. Yeah. Yes. So, yeah.
This surrendering, to surrender, that is also the result, and not as you talked about earlier.
Right.
It's
so
how to get there? Because there is no hope, and there is no no hope in it. In total surrender, there is also no, because hope is also something you cling to,
Yeah, you have to surrender hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. So there is like practices where you embody surrender, through the mudras, through the prostrations. In the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, you have the Guru Yoga, which has different aspects, and then surrender has to do with your understanding of emptiness. So you would study emptiness and meditate on emptiness in the prescribed way, like the steps, and so you. And then there is to build up the trust. Is part of that is, as I said, this practice of devotion to your teacher. So contemplating the qualities of the teacher, being inspired by the teacher, remembering the teacher. So, and there's probably more. This is just my first responses to this. Yeah? But so it's right. I think you are right that it is more a result, surrendering, and then there's practices like prostrations where you do it, and then something happens. So you do it, and you feel the resistance, you feel the pride, and then you, by continuing to do it, you get a sense of how surrendering actually feels and what it means.
Let's say I'm dying and I really would like to surrender, but I can't do it. Is it then better to like have hope, like feel devotion to like Dalai Lama? Or
if that works for you, yes.
Yeah.
So, but it's not working if you then would say, or someone else would say to you, "Hey, remember the Dalai Lama," yeah, because so that's something you have to explore before, and also there you can't. Having devotion to the Dalai Lama is the result. So it's not something I can't tell you. Hey, have devotion to the Dalai Lama. It's work. It's like you have to create the conditions for devotion to arise. Yeah. Sometimes it's quite spontaneous. Like some people, they meet the Dalai Lama and they feel intuitively, they feel devotion, they feel trust. But then even those people, they need to cultivate it. So that means they need to every day relate to the Dalai Lama, call upon the Dalai Lama, do a sadhana. And then at the end of your life, if you have done that for 30 years, at the end of your life, if someone who is there when you're dying says, remember the Dalai Lama, or else a picture there, then you will slide into it. The other part of that is, in meditation, we cultivate our capacity to be loving, to be lovingly present to whatever arises, and to see its emptiness, both. So we train that. So if you train that capacity, then that will be also available to you at the death time. So what that means is, if not surrendering arises in the death process, which it will, you're not going to it will not be a smooth ride. Yeah, there will be ups and downs in that journey. But if you have trained yourself to have a loving, spacious attitude to whatever arises, then you will have that available to you also in the death process. So it will not be different than a meditation session where you feel hungry, and then you feel restless, and then you feel tired, and then you feel pain, and then all that will arise. But if you have trained yourself to give space to it and to see its emptiness, then the non-surrendering is allowed, is there, has space. Non-surrendering is arising. You see its emptiness, so it's not a big deal. It comes and goes, and you have a trust that you actually don't need to do anything with not surrendering, because it will dissolve itself into surrendering. Surrendering will be forced upon you in the death process. You have no choice. In the beginning, when your mind is still be able to resist, because the conceptual level still is there, that can be really, really difficult, but that's going to go downhill. At one point, it will be forced upon you that you can't have problems, because your mind will not be able anymore to make problems. So surrendering, in short, you don't need to worry, you will die successfully. And then, of course, then there's this moment when the clear light mind of death arises. So when the divine radiates in its whole glory. So if you have cultivated trust during your life into the presence of the divine, into the presence of groundless, centerless, cognizant presence in the nature of love, in the nature of light, then in that moment you could do the quantum leap. Or you could prefer at this time, you could prefer to struggle a little bit longer. So you're blown into the next opportunity. But at each death time, in this journey of our death process, we have the opportunity to merge into the divine. And more we are familiar with this, more we have familiarized ourselves, more we have forgotten the mini-me, more relaxed we can stay in that moment. So that's the biggest surrender, at the end of the death process. Okay. I wrote 4 teachers there, so Thomas Merton. So these are Catholic practitioners. So then Brother Steindl Rast. He is Austrian, but he was trained as a Benedictine monk in the United States. He is quite old now, more than 80. There's YouTube videos around.
This is Brother David. Is his name?
David Steindl Rast, yeah, Steindl Rast. And then there's Father Keaton, who is one of the revivers of the contemplative Catholic tradition. And then I wrote down Adyashanti. He's a non-dual teacher who comes from the Buddhist tradition, but he wrote a book. It's called Resurrecting Jesus, which is maybe a good way for Buddhist practitioners and non-dual people who are in the non-dual teachings to kind of find back to Jesus and see Jesus as a story of awakening, and he refers to the different gospels and the different teachings of Jesus and kind of sees them a bit from a non-dual point of view. It's a good book, and he brings his own experience of Jesus into this book, so it's inspiring.
At the beginning of this talk, you mentioned the book you read around Christmas every year.
Yeah, that's called Holy Mind, Silent Mind by Lama Yeshe.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not sure if it's available as a book still, but it's available online, so you can